Yeah, there's a,
I'd like to get moving because it's gonna be a late.
so there's a lot of things to be worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, big change for me, right?
Okay.
20 years of playing.
Hi, everybody. I'd like to
Like a
call,
nice class.
I'd like to call the committee of the whole meeting to order. First item is the adoption of the agenda, moved by Councillor Fisher, seconded by Councillor Wallace.
Excuse me, could you please take notes, because I'm trying to...
No, it's pretty easy.
Thank you. I know, but I need to know who was in second.
Yeah.
Seems like a
Moved by,
for everything anyway.
moved by Fisher, seconded by Wallace. Discussion on the agenda. All in favor? Opposed, motion is carried. Unfinished business, the broadband. I guess we'll just turn it over to you, Mark and Jody and Brian, apparently, and Blyadder.
Thank you, Mayor Ransom. There's a couple I haven't met. Councillor Fisher, I don't think we've met. Mark Holla from Columbia Basin Trust, and Councillor Thatcher. I think I've met everybody else. I think so. So anyway, just wanted to let you know who I was. And what I came to talk about today is not to go over all of the past, like to talk about what the network is and what it can do and things like that. That's something that your broadband committee, these folks here, have explored in quite a bit of detail in the past year and a bit. What I wanted to go over today was a discussion of the financial implications of adopting, like becoming part of the CBBC network. And so what's going to come up on the screen in a minute is 3 files that I emailed to Cecile, and we're going to bring up a map. And just in case it doesn't come up, we'll go old school here and put on your good glasses, because that's a ways away. And if that doesn't quite work for you, I brought along a couple of paper copies that we could share in this one. So we'll look at this in one of 3 ways, hopefully with the ability, yep, that one. And then, if you don't mind, Tracy, if you could blow that up as big as you can. Yeah. And maybe if you could take away all the layer stuff on the left-hand side and just show the map.
That double arrow thing.
There we go. And now go up a little bit, please.
Jody, maybe can you cancel the light behind you?
Oh,
Or,
Okay.
sorry, go,
Oh,
yeah, there we
Right,
go.
everybody?
I think that more or less shows the route.
Easy.
Yeah.
No, not yet.
So,
Is
is it all right, do you mind if I just come and point out the route?
Mm,
up
please
front?
do.
Okay, we'll just make it a little bit easier, okay? So right now, the fiber optic network comes to the school on St. Paul, which is right here. So that's where the fiber is, and it's live there, and it's been in use at that school for some time. So there are 3 different proposals that we can look at today. The first one is connecting City Hall, or City Hall right here. And if we were to just connect City Hall, which is a good option as well, then what we would do is come down here, and when the beautification of Columbia Avenue occurred, there was a single conduit that goes under the street and ends up right at City Hall. And that we would pay for to get it into City Hall, and City Hall would be connected. And you could use the connection for City Hall purposes, and that is the least expensive option. This would cost about $22,000, and we would pay for that. Option number 2, when you run underneath City Hall, when you run underneath Columbia Avenue, you don't have the opportunity to connect anybody else. And so it's only for use by City Hall. If we were to come this way and go in the back alley and put in a sufficient number of connection points all the way and get to this point, then that would cost, I believe the number, we're going to show you a different slide in a minute, is about $89,000. And if we were to do the whole network, so we would feed both sides of downtown and go up towards the water treatment, all the way up to the water treatment plant, and also getting the public works yard, you get the most savings from the current telephone cost, and that one is about $186,000, less some of the money that we're going to put in. So those are the 3 routes. So we either go direct, or we come this way, which we just add a little bit of potential commercial business, or we do the whole thing. And just so you know, one other iteration for the councillors that haven't met before, we went all the way up to 3rd Avenue and blanketed the whole area, and that one was about 366,000, I think. And the broadband committee at the time said, that's kind of expensive, that's a really big step. Why don't we just take a smaller baby step first, and we'll just do a portion of it? And so that's what we did. Okay? So if we take away that one, Tracy, and now we bring up the one called ROI analysis. Yeah, that ROI summary. Open that, please. Okay, can you make that just a little bit smaller? Like, I'm not sure what.
Down the bottom right, Tracy.
Yeah, so it's at 150%. If you make it maybe 125, or just so we can get all the numbers on the page, one more smaller. 100, and that's pretty good. Can everybody read that?
We can size up, you can get rid of the top menu up there, right beside the question mark at the top, Tracy. On the top right, you can just hit that little arrow beside the question mark. About, equal one more
A
step.
little bit higher?
And then,
Yep,
not there, hit right beside that, there's an arrow.
yep, that
Click
one.
there,
There we go.
and then you can size that up a little bit more.
And
Go
go-
back to the bottom and hit the plus. One more, actually.
There we go.
Awesome.
Okay, now that's pretty clear?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay, so this was the run underneath Columbia, come straight to City Hall. If you did that, there'd be one potential subscriber. There wouldn't be any monthly fees that anybody would pay other than the city of Rossland. There obviously wouldn't be any revenue to split because there's only one connection. So the monthly revenue you get out of this connection would be zero. The cost of the connection per month is $1,250, and that goes all the way across. What the telecommunications costs would be at the end of having that connection, they're currently $1,769 a month, and I have a copy of your phone bill from a couple months ago. They've gone through every single line, every single long distance call, et cetera, to forecast what the cost would be now, or not forecast what they are now, and what they would be. And so this is the difference in your telecommunication costs in the three different options. This one obviously doesn't have any pole rental because it just goes straight underneath Columbia. This one has a little bit more pole rental, and that one just a little bit. That's just basically, down the back alley on the west side of Columbia. So the monthly expenses turn out to be this row right here. And if you subtract what the current TELUS costs are, you'll see that this option, although there's no capital cost, where are we here? The net investment is zero, there's no payback, but it would actually, the city would be worse off by $1,000 a month. In the second one, it's a plus of $859, but that's based upon, and this is where, we have to really make sure that we're okay with these numbers. The uptake would be 25% of 72 customers, or a grand total of 18. So we're looking at 18 customers. Now, the chamber, Renee, went out to all of the businesses, and I believe you got 24 commitments from businesses. So I think we can probably feel okay that we'll get 18, at least in the first year or two. And then what is the revenue split? So whoever the internet service provider will be, and that's up to us to find, and we've got an expression of interest ready to go out to find that internet service provider. That's a reasonable number. The ones that I've been talking to are okay with the 50-50. So you'd end up being cash positive in the second situation, which is do the downtown core and connect all the municipal buildings, but not the museum. And the third option is just doing a little bit of the back of Columbia Avenue. And then, of course, there's a lot fewer customers, about half. If we apply that same uptake and the same revenue split, it just basically turns out to be a wash, based upon your current telecommunications costs. So, this number looks the best because it's black and it's a bigger number than the other ones, but this also looks the worst because it's got the largest amount of capital. So the payback on this would be approximately 15.2 years. So it's not a quick return on investment. And the looks on everybody's faces in this room are the same looks on everybody's faces throughout the Columbia Basin. This is not TELUS's fault. This is not Shaw's fault. We live in a sparsely populated area. The return on investment is not great. 15 years is not bad for when you consider we're looking for 18 customers. Now, that could go up if we get more than 18 customers. If we get the 24 that did commit, that number changes quite nicely. But those are the assumptions. Sorry? Question?
The 24 customers, would they be serviced by the one that you've got under row D, column D?
Only a portion of them, about half of them.
It is about half? Okay.
Renee, like, were they generally on the west side of Columbia?
The west side or the north side?
Sorry, north side.
North.
North side.
Yeah, a lot of them are on the north side, I'd say. Well, there's more I think there's more businesses on the north side,
Yeah.
Mhm.
generally speaking.
Yeah, because Ferraro's takes up a large,
block, yeah.
well,
If
So-
I could just interject there's, with that sort of letter of intent, this engagement survey, I found out after we had closed the survey that there were managers of office spaces and who had filled out for, basically one unit, but ultimately they're in control of several units. And so, I know that happens in at least one circumstance. So really even, the number 24 is something that is growing already, and we'll be opening it up again tomorrow for, people's input for the town hall, and there are people who haven't actually submitted, even though they may have been interested in doing so. So, the 24 isn't, and the 35 who replied, that's not a final number just yet, and we'll just, by the 23rd, we'll have a final number for you.
okay. So the three options, the three routes that we looked at on the map, this is the dollars and cents behind those three options. And again, this is, it's not a great return. It is generally, the return on telecommunications in a sparsely populated area. These numbers look a whole lot different when you're in downtown Vancouver, where there's big high-rises where you get to one building and there might be 500, suites in there. But we don't have that in the Columbia Basin. Realistically, it's barely available in Cranbrook right now, and Cranbrook being the largest municipality in the Columbia Basin area. So collectively, when we get all of the municipalities together, which is what we're doing, Columbia Basin Trust, extending this connection to as many places as we can, then the numbers start to look better. But we're not taking any revenue out of this. So for any Roslyn business who pays a fee, there won't be any return back to Columbia Basin Trust. It's split between the municipality, who may not or may build the infrastructure, either of these two, and the service provider. We're just going to make the network available so that we'll get better broadband in the Columbia Basin, but not take any sort of a return out of that.
So the net investment there, the 156,000 and 63,000, so is that the city's investment on scenario C and D and zero because your corporation would pay for the investment, the net investment in the column B, correct?
That's correct.
And St. Paul, the City Hall, that is the one that is the conduit underneath right now?
Correct.
From St. Paul, and are you meaning McLean School when you say the school at St. Paul? Or are you talking about RSS?
The one that, no, not the one that's way up there.
Yeah.
The one that's on St. Paul.
Yeah. So, which is the school that we just closed in Rossland, right? So, however, so the commitment of people, and this is where when I was, doing the reading for council, and I'm going, well, it would make me feel better as a decision maker on behalf of the community, knowing specifically that there are people who are locked in and ready to pay up, because as far as capacity goes, I worry about building capacity of infrastructure no matter what it is, and it being too much infrastructure in a small community or even a small region. So, if people are going to actually commit and they're going to put their money where their mouth is, so to speak, because it's different when people say, oh yeah, I'm keen and I'm interested, but some of the notes that I read were, of people who said that, 10 gigabytes per second or whatever those numbers were, 7 to 10 was fine. And this is projecting 100 gigabytes per
Mhm.
second potentially of,
Megabytes.
yeah, megabytes, sorry,
Megabits.
uploading, downloading. So I would really like, to have names of businesses and commitments, honestly, from people in the community who are going to say, yes, I am willing to buy into this before we make a big commitment of, of those kinds of numbers.
So if I can just comment on that, I think that the the chamber and the rest of the broadband committee did their very best to get the commitments that they could.
Mhm.
But quite honestly, we've been holding them back because we don't have the internet service provider ready to come to town and say, the price will be this, and this is the service level you'll get, and we're sort of working through that process to bring those things on.
Mhm.
What we have been doing, which has occupied a fair amount of time, and now if I could just come back here, I don't have this on an email. We've been working on expanding our network, and no, I can probably find it here. Where'd it go? And our network used to connect 7 municipalities, which were basically the, trail, where is that map? There it is. I'll go around the room with this. But what we've done is, you see this piece of red right here?
Yeah.
That's how big our network was until July.
Mhm.
And we just finished a deal with Shaw Cable, and now our network is all of this area, the blue area. That's public information.
Mhm.
We signed this deal back in, just towards the end of July. And now the increased size of the network will allow us to attract more service providers,
Mhm.
probably get some better pricing, connect a whole lot more communities. I'll just do that with you, Councilor Fisher, do you want to pass it around?
So I just want to add a little bit to what Mark is saying. Essentially, the original network was almost like an island. It was a small area that was covered.
Mhm.
Yes.
What they've managed to do is bridge themselves to connect into the major highway. There's a really big fiber trunk line that comes across Canada, and Mark's and the team's managed to do a deal where they traded a bunch of extra unused fiber with Shaw, and Shaw in turn then gave them access to this major connection all the way through. This is how you make the network very valuable. And so he's managed to, their team has managed to put something together that now is substantial. So when we connect to this, we are now connected to anything out there that we want to get to. So it's a big accomplishment.
Prior to July, you would have connected to an 85-kilometer network with 7 municipalities. Now we've got 45 potential connections, and it's over 700 kilometers long.
Well, these are one of the comments I read in there. Like, this will be 100 megabytes per second. The network out of the Kootenays, is that where that hooks into, so that it's still 100 megabytes out of the Kootenays? It's not, the capacity is reduced once you get out of your network?
No, that's a very good question, because a lot of people wonder, well, once it gets off this fast little network around the Kootenays, does it then hit a choke point and then only, go so fast? But no, when it gets out of the Kootenays, it'll start at 100 megabits, and as soon as the need is there, like when it gets up to around 60, when there's a sustained 60 megabits of usage, then we'll bump it up to a gig. And then it'll be 10 times as fast. And when that saturation point comes, we'll bump it up again. The network can operate at well over a gig right now.
So what's the theoretical capacity, so everyone understands, on our network right now? Do you know that?
This will be built, the electronics you change out whenever you need to change the speed, but it will be built to a 10 gig standard.
So multiple 10 gig wavelengths can travel on this?
Yes.
So what would it be, probably 80 gigabits or something plus, something like that? The numbers are so staggering, as Mark is just saying, it's just the electronics on each end, and that's the beauty of this investment. It's not like you're investing something that's going to go away in the future, or quickly go away in the future. I mean, we can't always anticipate everything that's going to happen out there, but it's enormous capacity, and it's very economical in comparison to what it used to be.
So I hope that answers the question, but I'll bring up a term here called wave division multiplexing. Who cares what that means? What it means is, to lay people is, if you're trying to increase the throughput of a freeway, one thing you could do is make the cars go faster. But with the technology that we're talking about, what it can in effect do is, through multiple light waves, make, instead of a 6-lane highway, you could make it a 10-lane highway, and then a 60-lane highway, and then a 600-lane highway. So you could do that and increase the speed of it at the same time. So using that highway analogy, that's a real oversimplification, but you can make it go really fast. And the other point is we'll be connected to both Shaw and TELUS, because some of the issues that we have throughout the Kootenays is sometimes one of them will go down, and when it goes down, it's really frustrating because you're dead. But this will be connected to both major players, so that when one ceases to function, it'll just flip over to the other one. So we have a gateway in the West Kootenays and in the East Kootenays, and we can go between.
So it'd be a 50-50 split, more or less, between the city and the service provider?
That's right.
And so, sorry.
Just one comment on that. There are 21 internet service providers that operate in the Columbia Basin. We've gotten together with them twice now, let them know about this opportunity, and I mentioned a while ago that we'd be putting out an expression of interest, which is letting them all know, here's the size of this opportunity. Are you interested in supplying services to places like Roslyn and Trail and Invermere and Radium and so on? So I don't think we'll have any issue in finding a service provider. And those are, they're going to be kept in check by Shaw and TELUS in terms of charging the market rate.
Or even you can help them charge less than Shaw and TELUS as well.
Yes.
I would say, Mark.
Yeah.
So what this network is going to do is give them access. It will bring internet costs to the network and potentially 1/5, maybe 1/10 the cost that it is today. Again, when you're an island, you're isolated, and only monopolies are getting to you. They can control the market rates. Suddenly, the market rates are wide open, and that's what Mark has access to now, and major internet exchanges out there because of this network. So it changes the game substantially, which then goes to the internet service providers, who then bill us. So they have the ability to have much lower costs, which then they can bring through us as well.
Couple questions. So when you're talking about potential businesses buying in, anyone can buy in at any time? Like anyone can connect if they're on that infrastructure or near it? Like if it's not this year, it could be next year or a year. And then can that infrastructure be expanded to the whole community eventually, if that is what residential homes would like?
Yep. And so the way we did this was we started off with that, going all the way up to Third, and drew out the big plan. But if at any point in time you wanted to, let's say go down into this area, you can certainly do that, tie into the big pipe that will come back to this building here, go down into the basement, and then connect more homes, yes.
I'd like to think that is our major goal here. Is the first step is to get the momentum, prove out what we can do, and then figure out how to do the rest of the community. And that's what the citizens are going to be asking for.
Well, any residential buildings along those routes be able to hook into?
Yeah.
There's a sufficient number of connections that anywhere you see a line, if there's a building on that line, it can be connected.
Just to put in perspective, I'm paying for, today in my home office, I'm paying for a 1.5 megabit connection that is symmetrical both ways from Shaw. It's a very new service, but that's essentially what I can afford. It's $400 a month. And the reason why I'm paying for it is because I have to make sure my communication line is working. And so, $400 a month right now. Mark is talking 100 megabits, in the 125 range, so it's a substantial difference.
Recently, I spoke to both TELUS and Shaw, and just to check the kind of compare service levels with prices. And I'd done the same thing about 6 months ago, and within that 6 month period, the offer had become more expensive. I think, I can't remember, it was $5 or $10. I think maybe one was 5, one was 10. And what they offered for that money is actually reducing because they're placing caps on what you, and they're lower caps actually, what you can access with that on the, the amount of data you can get at. And they're actually not paying just yet for getting over that cap, but they both told me that that is in the works. It's just a matter of waiting for the software to be in place, and it's a matter of months. It's what each one, customer service agents at each one told me is coming into play. So right now, we're paying a lot of money for, definitely way more than your regular urban centers, paying a lot of money for less service, and, that discrepancy between the two is growing right now.
Nope, that's, does everybody see how those numbers come together for the three different options? So City Hall, which, there's nothing wrong with starting just at City Hall, bring the connection in here, you would have it, you could put a computer out front and show people this is how fast it is. That is an option. The only thing that does is it goes straight underneath Columbia, and then nobody else could connect to it. So if you just go down the back alley, it builds the network in a sufficient way, putting in 35 more connections and building it properly, because essentially there's no off-ramps here. You can't connect to business. So the question was just asked, could anybody connect? If we do the far left, which is column B, the answer is no. It's only City Hall that could be connected. If we move to column D, then we could connect up to 35, which is on row 3. And if we did column C, which is everything you see here in the different colors, then it's up to 72 potential subscribers. So that makes the potential bottom line.
Mark, excuse me, but if you ran it through the pipe to City Hall and decided at another date that you wanted to run it to the north side of the alley, then of course you'd go up through the conduit across the street here and then down the back alley. So that fiber that's in Columbia Avenue, you can't tie into. Eventually you could tie into with more fiber just going in a different direction.
You could do that. That is true. The one thing that we did do last year was we applied for all the pole permits from Fortis, and the pole permits were all granted. And so they're only good, generally for a couple of months. But while council had the opportunity to think about this and come up with a decision, we've asked for them to be postponed. And so it could still be done, but that's...
Yeah, I'm just saying it's possible.
It is possible.
And if we were using the conduit down Main Street, would there be any disturbance of our beautiful new Main Street?
As long as that conduit, like that's something I haven't checked, as long as that conduit, like it's really there and it runs all the way through and there's no blockage and nothing hit it during paving or whatever, then it'd be fine.
Thread the needle. Thread the conduit. So are the ones behind on the north side, is that on there, those are on poles then? Is that?
Everything's on poles.
Other than the one that's
Yeah.
the single one?
Pretty much the whole thing is on poles, that's right. Yeah. And so you can see on row 12 there's a little bit of pole rental. So I've taken those numbers and turned them all monthly. They're annual costs, but that's what it would be on a monthly basis.
So a couple of points of information that came to me as I was listening to your questions is, so with the 21 ISPs that Mark referred to in the region, I think that was the number you said, right, 21? That's the state right now, but there's nothing stopping, basically this is an opportunity being created for someone in Roslyn to say, I also want to be an ISP, and then create their own startup ISP company. And then there would be, also anybody else in the region who's already doing that, to move here and be able to run their company from here. And so a lot of the value proposition is most significant to pretty much to companies that aren't here yet and work opportunities that aren't yet here, right? Because we don't have the infrastructure to support it. So, for example, an 18-year-old who's grown up in Roslyn, going to Selkirk College in 2 years graduating, or 4 years, or, whenever they're graduating, they could feasibly stay here, start up their own company, do their own technology-based company or service or whatever, and stay here to do that. Whereas we didn't really have we don't have that capacity right now unless you really, really, really push for it, as Brian here has.
The trend is worldwide employment, where more and more employers are looking for the talent wherever it exists, and in many cases, that's people that want lifestyle. That's where the real talent wants to go, but if you don't have the right infrastructure, then your people can't compete. And one thing, we often talk about the capacity of the network. The bigger problem at the moment is actually the quality of the network. In the early 2000s, I could use the internet to do a phone call relatively well. The internet's being buried in Netflix and everything you can imagine, so you can't control the quality of the network. And that's the problem that actually Shaw and TELUS and why they're going through all these gyrations. Things are getting less and less bandwidth all the time, and they're trying to control this old infrastructure that can't really support what we need. And so we have to take control of that part of it. We have to be able to control the capacity of the network to make sure that the quality is there. And employers are going to do two things. They're going to say, do you have the skill set, and do you have the communication infrastructure? That's the two things they're going to ask before they will employ somebody in a region like Rossland. So, again, I think as Jody's saying, we might have the internal companies, local companies that are trying to start a business, but I think the bigger opportunities are actually going to come externally, looking for the talent that we have here.
On that note, just something, not to make you sympathize with the big telecommunication providers, but what's happened in the past, especially 2 to 3 years, this thing called Netflix. If I could go back to my highway analogy again, you own the roads within the city of Rossland, but imagine if, for some strange reason, everybody in Nelson, whenever they left town, they all decided, Nelson and Trail, to drive through Rossland. And that's what's happened, with no financial compensation. There's just all this traffic that has showed up. It's caused customer satisfaction problems. It's wear and tear on the internet, same as your roads, and you've got nothing, there's no way you can recover any costs of maintaining those roads. That's what Netflix has done. And with a fiber optic network, you can just add more electronics to it at any time, and that's why TELUS and Shaw are moving towards that type of a network, because you can manage the bandwidth. But all the copper that's in place, and the reason why Trail's network is getting completely rebuilt by TELUS, they're putting in all fiber, because it can handle it.
So copper is the old school and fiber is obviously the new school. And why I'm just curious, it's a little bit off topic, but like something like Netflix, why is it that they have freedom in the highway? And to take up so much bandwidth or whatever, and who's to say? So are you saying, I guess, what my question is the fiber can grow and grow and grow faster or much further capacity-wise than any kind of telecommunications, whatever, like Netflix or whatever you call those who use that?
So I think there was 2 questions there. The first one being, how can they do that? So there's something called an OTT, or over-the-top. And it's an over-the-top service, over-the-top service that you've got TELUS or Shaw or Bell or Rogers, any of the big guys in Canada, who are in the middle, and they're connecting the internet, the world, to these residents. And everything kind of goes like through them, and they have the ability to charge for that. But what Netflix does, it does go through the same internet pipe, but they kind of go over them, because Netflix doesn't pay TELUS or Shaw or Bell or Rogers to transport that traffic. It's these consumers that keep clicking on Netflix, I want this movie, I want this movie, I want this movie. And as you keep doing that, you're pulling down so much data that you weren't doing 3 years ago. The world was not doing 3 years ago, or 5 years ago. And so now all of a sudden, what's next? Like Netflix has seriously challenged multi-billion-dollar companies in Canada, Bell, TELUS, Rogers, and Shaw, on how they do their work and how they build their networks. And Netflix won't be the last thing that ever shows up.
So there's big arguments with the CRTC. They're trying to get limits on what we can use, and that's why they want to charge us for overages. You've probably heard this discussion, and so far they've lost that battle. And so now they're desperately out there trying to put fiber into all their bigger centers. And that's where all the focus is going to be. And how far down the list will we be? It might be years and years and years. In the meantime, they're dealing with all the bigger centers. So
And then your second question, I think, was you know, how does fiber handle this any differently than copper? And it's a combination of, you know, fiber it's a piece of glass, it's the size of a human hair, and, you know, what it could transmit 25 years ago, and what it can transmit today, or even in 2 months from now, it's just hockey stick. And so you just put different lasers or electronics on both ends, and you can just keep driving more and more and more, and making multiple lanes of traffic out of what seems to be just one lane. But it just gets better and better, and copper can't do that.
Canadian technology from Nortel. Amazing
That's
technology.
interesting,
I know they're gone, unfortunately, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that's
just
the reason we can use it.
Thank you. Wow. So where are we at as far as council goes? Like, obviously, you want the committee and want council to make a decision, so is the committee that also just coming back to us in 2 weeks to make a decision, and in the meantime, the public meeting tomorrow night?
Yeah, so tomorrow night there is the town hall or the community forum, and that's at the Miners Club, that's at 7 o'clock, and so the task force will be there, Mark will be there, I believe, right? And I was hoping that other councillors would also come, because I believe that the community, people in the community will also have questions for council, not just the task force, so that would be, as many as possible would be wonderful. And then on the 23rd is when a request for a decision will come to council on, you know, should we do this and which option should we do, or, you know, what do you want to do? And then by the, I can't remember, the 28th, 29th, 30th, somewhere in there, Fortis is expecting to hear about our commitment to the pole permits. And so that's the timeline we're dealing with right now.
And
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Cecile, could you refresh me on budget, financial plan? Did we put in, like, what kind of number did we put in again? Do you remember?
195,000,
We did put in 100
but
for 2013.
that's right.
Okay.
But the understanding was that council was gonna make a decision in the year, which is the placeholder, so
Yeah.
there's no commitment.
But it's there on the
It's
financial
there.
plan. Thank you.
And hopefully by the 23rd, we'll have some feedback on grants and, you know, potential success or actual success, or, you know, I'm not sure. We'll see. Unfortunately, we found out that after applying, that the SIVAC one has already been subscribed, fully subscribed this year. And then their new fiscal year, it kind of sounds like the fiscal year is along with calendar year. So how we'll do with that is, I don't know if it'll be a next phase, or, at any rate, that was the smaller ask, so that was only a $30,000 ask. And also I wanted to point out, before I forgot, I did a little unofficial poll with the task force as to, okay, you just, you know, using you guys as an example, and I would say that if there are about 10 of us, I think there's about 10 of us on the task force, give or take, I think I usually use the time frame of in the next 5 years, or I can't remember, I may have said specifically in the next 5 years, or I may have just said, you know, once this infrastructure is in, what does that trigger for you as far as, you know, jobs that you can bring to town? And from just the task force alone, so that's just 10 of us, and we're not all even employers, it added up to 22 plus 2 part-time jobs. So ultimately, you know, 23 full-time jobs, and that's just from this very small sample of people that, you know, raws and draws triggered by this. And then, so that doesn't speak to, you know, the potential of just taking interest from outside the region, or, you know, like I said, young people just being able to stay, or other people with, you know, creative ideas that they decided to start up.
And what other grants, Jody, have you applied for? Task force?
CIDIT, and that's a $50,000 one, and that one is, you know, they've already set the precedent of giving for this CBBC project, so that one's with high hopes awaiting those answers. And then Western Diversification, we actually weren't going to be applying for that. We've completed the application in early July, but we didn't apply for it because it ended up that all these grants added up to more than the expense, right? And so it didn't make for a strong application to have, for Roslyn to have no skin in the game. You know, so we're thinking, okay, maybe we just need to be strategic and perhaps, you know, save one of them for future phases where, you know, we involve residential areas and you know, residential people can, you know, I don't know, there's other concepts that we can deal with later for how to involve other neighborhoods, and we can perhaps use grants for that. So that's why we saved the big one, growth and diversification, which was the biggest allowable ask. And we saved that for, you know, the later attempt. But now that, since we've found out that SIVAC is not going to be able to give us anything this fall, we decided to submit that. And so we're still just going through the details and getting it, you know, all the T's crossed and the dots the I's dotted.
Whatever that.
Do whatever you like. I'm wondering two things. Is there a possibility of resubmitting to SIVAC next year? Because this wouldn't proceed until next year anyway. So is that a possibility?
Well, they did say that they would keep the application and put forward. That's the impression I got. I think that's what the email explicitly said. And then also, actually, this build could happen this fall. It's only about a 2 or 3 week project. It would be quite quick. And so, you know, if council decided on the 23rd to do this, then, you know, there would be a few weeks to gather up materials, and then it could be done sometime in November.
The big thing is those pole permits. When they're gone, they're gone.
Okay.
Like somebody else, if they choose to put, like if TELUS puts up more cable or Shaw decides to or whatever, there's not a lot of room left on the poles. So that's why it sounds like there's some immediacy. I mean, beware Roslyn of a whole bunch of telecommunication providers coming into town saying, we want those pole positions. Probably a bit unlikely, but you've got them at the moment.
Okay. So the other question is for community responses tomorrow night. Have you got something set up that you can record for whoever shows up? Which side of the pole they're on?
Oh, that's a good point. Actually, we haven't sort of described the outline for the night. Basically, is at 7 o'clock. Amber and Brian will be giving, and maybe perhaps Mark will be part of this too, a presentation of just explaining what you've seen here, and then also the other presentations that have been done for council. And so there'll be a presentation, and then it'll be sort of you know, field questions after that, and everyone will also be given an opportunity to write down comments and questions, as well as you know, separate papers to be handed out, sort of thing, but then also an opportunity to just have little post-it notes on a board, as we were discussing, if people wanted to be more communal about their comments. And we'll also have that letter of intent and that survey reopened, so that people can participate if they live or work along the build plan, then, and they haven't yet submitted their interest or lack thereof, I guess, you know, stated their intent. Then they'll have another opportunity for that too.
Okay, thanks.
So, my only,
Go ahead, Terry.
so I mean, we try to get as much technology as we can into our business as much as we can, and we're promoting stuff all the time, based on what's available in all the new apps that in our business, right? There's a lot. The only issue that I have is we control the number of streets and roads in the infrastructure currently in Roslyn, right? So it's not like that infrastructure somebody else has some control over, and they can come in and put a new Columbia Avenue in beside the other one and use that, or just some other. And so the analogy that I'm using is the infrastructure that we're building, there are potential other competitors that could come in and upgrade their stuff at a certain point, and we've invested a whole bunch of money with very small rate of return over time, and then we get displaced, and we fill a gap temporarily within the citizens of Roslyn, to the benefit of, let's say, all 72 signed up, pay for this. That's where the hard decision is made, and that's where the business case is very weak and difficult for me to support. Because it's a tough one for me, because I really do support
getting broadband to the area. But because we don't control the other side of the infrastructure that could potentially come here, we can't lock them out. They could come in at any time. And yes, we could say, oh, it's very unlikely, we're a small town and it's never gonna happen. Well, it could happen at some point. And then we're out and we fill the gap for 5 years or 8 years or 9 years or 10 years and then we're out that money. If there were other grants and the dollar amount was a whole lot lower, I think I could be swayed. But at the moment, at 180 grand less 21 or 22, it's not likely that it would get my vote. I mean, we're in a committee of the whole, so I'm just talking frankly. Because the business case is there, but it's thin. It's very thin. So.
Councilor, may I just address that for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is, what's a little bit different is this is an open access network. So the situation that you're describing, if it happened, it would actually be a very good thing. Because what Roslyn could do is say, well, we got a call from TELUS, and they'd like to put their services on this fiber optic network as opposed to building their own. And then Shaw came in and did the same thing. And Bell showed up because this fiber optic network was there. That would actually be the best outcome possible. And you wouldn't actually be out of the game, you'd be in the center of the game. And because you'd own the network, it would be your decision as to who provides services and who does not. So what's a little different is the other networks are closed or proprietary, and they don't let anybody else provide services on them. This will be an open access network that they could provide services anywhere in the basin.
So just to add a little more to that, Google's out there building big fiber optic networks in Kansas City and a few other areas, and now the argument's starting to be, this is not a good move because Google's going to own us. And so it's the same thing that telcos already do today. They own us. They control what travels over that network as much as they can, short of Netflix. But there isn't very many things that have managed to get around what telcos are capable of. So as Marcus just described, instead, own the roads, own the infrastructure, and allow them to use it. And that's what the SuperNet is doing today successfully. They've got They got Bell traveling on their network, and Shaw traveling on their network, TELUS traveling on their network. So the model's already out there. Alberta just stepped forward 10 years ago and did this. And I think the question we need to ask ourselves, if we don't take the step forward, don't take this risk, how far behind are we? And I get to see things that most don't get to see, and it's happening elsewhere very, very quickly. These communities that it's going into are not much, old Alberta, and these places are really simple little places, but they are progressing forward much faster than we are. We have the combination of lifestyle, we have the one other piece, and I think we're a very saleable community, as in attracting a lot of talent here. Tax revenues go up. All the right things will happen if we make the effort here. If we don't make the move, I think it's the worst thing you can do for your economy. It's, short of schools. Losing schools. Schools and communication are two key things for your economy.
But if people come here and it attracts people here, then those schools will potentially reopen or at least grow.
Absolutely. I see a booming community. Absolutely. This is really critical.
Okay, it's 10 to the hour. If there's any more questions, I appreciate you asking them, because I'd like to get set up for our next part of our meeting, so please.
Just quickly, then, one reason why TELUS and Shaw, just sort of the converse, I guess, of this is why TELUS and Shaw, their network would never be able to compete with an open access network, is because an open access network, I mean, for one thing, it would always be cheaper for them to just join that, to just jump on that fiber, than to, update theirs. But then it would also, on that open access network, I mean, TELUS and Shaw, they offer, TV, telephone in some areas, not here, and cable, internet. And whereas the open access network would be able to offer, accounting services, a straight line to Netflix, video games, so many more things, basically just limited by people's imagination, creativity of what kind of software they want to put on it, right? And so there would never be a direct competition or anything like that.
Okay, so I kind of see that point, except, so we have, currently you just showed that other diagram where the pipe is right now, right? And it's open access now, right?
No, right now it's just serving the school.
Just, no, not here,
Oh,
but throughout the Columbia Basin.
that whole network will be open access. That's
But
correct.
it's not right now.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so it's open access now, so the question would be then, is it, if Trail's connecting some of its downtown stuff to, or Telus is coming into Trail, connecting some of its, or replacing its fiber threads, I think I read somewhere that the copper is disintegrating or something like that, then are they hooking into that open access parts where they can, or are they in discussions with you guys now?
No.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap that up, unless are you guys?
And can I just say one thing? I know it was 9,
Thanks,
well,
by the
I'm gonna
way.
count to 9 years when Brian first asked about broadband in Rossland, and I, of course, didn't have a clue, so thank you, I'm feeling much more educated 10 years
Yeah,
later.
thanks very much, Mark.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Brian.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I need a motion, we're adjourned, we're finished the agenda, the whole meeting is adjourned, we've got 5 minutes before we get to the next part, so Brian and Mark, tidy up.
Wait 5 minutes. I know. Can we get some coffee? Sure. Tracy, do a coffee or not? Whoever?
Yeah, I've got it on.
You got it? Okay. Thank you.
Is there 2 copies of this? One?
You lost your what, your cord?
Do I know what the skinny is?
Yes.
Okay, so I can't register you.
Oh, too late?
But you can show up and register
I
there.
read that actually.
But they can't guarantee that you'll get into the session you want to get into, and they can't guarantee that you'll get into anyway.
Oh, forget it. I'm not gonna go. You know what, I'm so busy at school that, I mean, I really do wanna go because of those resolutions. And I guess just, had that decision not been made, when I wasn't here, maybe it would have been different, right? Like I would have been able to have the conversation. It's too bad. Can't guarantee that you're gonna get into the conference.
Well, you can get into the conference, like the general conference,
But none of the dinners or banquets or lunches or something like that.
Tracy, the public hearing.
That's next week, or, no, it's 23rd.
Perfect.
No,
No, we have the
public
petition.
input was left off the agenda.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Good, so I can put away my Cole's notes.
What was that time capsule thing? Told my daughter about it on the phone, the time capsule.
I wish I was in town for that.
Yeah, it was great.
Didn't work out.
We were working.
Actually, I got pictures of it. I should have shared those. Yeah. A couple of things that are inside it. Couldn't do everything.
I had to just show up. Yeah, I think that's how we tell them,
Yeah, the other part's a hit and miss, apparently. I talked to.
Well, for the meals, like the banquet and that, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, whatever, I don't know. I thought I was more interested in the resolution, but anybody can go about it with your resolution. Yeah, 2 mornings or whatever. But, and anybody can go to that. Was there a room available? I Oh, there's no.
Well, I could get,
Did you phone
Jody would
Bert?
get you in, I couldn't get you,
Conference rate?
But a few weeks ago, I just did a comparison to see if we couldn't get less.
Yeah.
Through my friend anyway.
And it's the same?
It ended up being, I can't remember, it was $10 or $20 more, but it was essentially the same.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
The conference rate, I think they were $100 less than the standard price.
Really? On the right side of the graph?
Oh, yeah, look on the back of the door, yeah, $320 a night, some of them. 200 something for sure.
So,
Motion
yeah, this
carried.
was at 200 and so if they're, I mean, so long and the hotel is full, I could.
Mike, you wanna pop your head around the corner and tell Carrie you wanna get going?
Sure. We'll talk about it after this.
Yeah.
Thanks. Oh, how much? Yay.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Is there a mover? Moved by Councillor Spear and seconded by Councillor Thatcher. Discussion on the agenda. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Adoption of the council minutes. A motion that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on the 12th of 2013 be adopted. Is there a mover to that, please? Moved by Councillor Spear and seconded by
I wasn't here, I'll do it anyway. Go ahead.
Councillor Fisher. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Motion that the minutes of the special meeting of council held on the 20th be adopted. Moved by Councillor Wallace, seconded by Councillor Blumey. Discussion on those? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. A motion that the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting held on August 20th, 13 be adopted. Is there a mover? Moved by Councillor Thatcher, seconded by Councillor... No, we did, this is a new one. Committee of the whole meeting, this is item 3C. Moved by Councillor Thatcher, seconded by
Yes.
Councillor Spear. Discussion on those? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Public input period. This time is council allows members of the public who wish to address council this time with a matter of urgency to come forward. You have 2 minutes of our time. Please come forward, state your name and the purpose, and Gladys. So is there anyone, please, come forward.
Sorry.
Please.
I just, do we, have an opportunity to speak about the shuttle?
This is public input period right now, so if you have something that you wish to bring to our attention, then that's what this is for.
Okay, I'm currently a non-voting member of Tourism Rossland, so I'd like to speak to the shuttle just as a citizen and also, an employee at Red Mountain. And I just think as we pose to be the greatest on the energy diet, that it would be great. I mean, I realize it's already good for the distances downtown, the accommodators at the Hill and the Hill itself. But if we could train the employees and people just going to skiing or going up for lunch or whatever, it would be great to have that opportunity. So I hope you approve.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public input period, please.
Yes, please. Eric Colassus from Red Mountain Resort. I'm also a board member of Tourism Roslyn. I'd like to speak to the shuttle as well. You know, since we're not within a 3-hour drive of a major population area, we have to attract long-haul destination skiers to sustain the business and to keep the town full of winter visitors. And it's a very competitive market out there. Essential service for most ski resorts and ski destinations is a shuttle. I'm pleased to tell everyone that we've attracted over 23 new clubs, had a significant growth and interest to Red in Roslyn for this upcoming winter, largely because of the appeal of our place and new train expansion. And these clubs are all expecting a shuttle essential service that they see at other ski resorts for free. I mean, we've got people coming here from Texas, Florida, New Zealand, Seattle, Ohio, Montana, Montreal, Toronto, New York, New Jersey, and it represents over 2,500 day visits to our resort, which has a significant impact to the local economy. So it's a competitive world, and a free shuttle and a ski resort is an essential service, and I hope we all can move forward with this proposal in a positive manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishes to address, please? Roseanne?
I'm Roseanne Shabana,
Yes.
Dr. Bruce up in Legacy, get through downtown, again, and I as well am counting on this sort of public transportation. I've had people come in at the end of their stay and say that they walked in, they were so desperate, they didn't even know what we had downtown, and were quite pleased to find it at the end of their stay. And it's more than the odd person. So I just worry about how many haven't made it downtown, because it's not like they're here to shop per se, but when they find the town, they love it. So it'd be nice to be able to say, we've invited you to our doorstep now, we've got ways to get you around, especially seeing that they are flying in more and more rather than driving in. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Public input period? Yes, please.
Mine is on accessibility. You know,
It's Chris Bowman, right?
Chris Bowman, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My apologies. Right now, we are very limited in the amount of seats we have around. Be it, and I'm talking about servicing people that come into our town. If we've got a group of 300 people coming into the town, feeding them all is very challenging, let alone getting them all around to the places that are available. We have spots up at Red Mountain, we've got spots up at the Rock Cut that really people can't get to unless they have an opportunity to get there. We have establishments in town that are unfortunately closing their doors because of lack of patronage, and the ability to move some of these people around to get them seated and where they don't have to wait for over an hour for dinner is pretty important to a resort town. And for me, up at the steam shuttle, it's really important to get them back and forth in a timely manner. And that's it.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Lana?
Lana Smith. I was an accommodator up at the Hill for 20 years. And one of the barriers that we noticed at the time was this lack of easy access to and from town. People who are up there, like in the condos with kitchens and whatever, they need to be able to come into town, go to the grocery store, get back out there. And so it would be really helpful for the visitors to have it, and also for families in town. I mean, imagine the parents who won't have to drive up and down with their children anymore. They can just stick them on the shuttle, send them up, bring them back. It would be easy, less traffic, less other, fewer difficulties with parking, so please, say yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishes to address council at public input period? Yes, sir.
My name is Warren Ham. Can I say?
Sure can,
yeah. I support the shuttle, like Chris was mentioning, and I also have and the others were mentioning, but I also have another matter. There's an application. I own a piece of property up on Red Mountain. It's currently zoned MA1. I'm allowed to build a recreational cabin on that property, and I just wanted to read the definition. I'm allowed to build a freestanding accessory building not connected to utility services, meaning water, sewer, electricity, and gas, which does not serve as a principal dwelling with the following restrictions. The restrictions are the size, the height, must contain a CSA-approved heat source, and may not feature a septic system, but use a composting toilet or equivalent. It must meet all relevant building, fire, and safety codes. And it is to be utilized principally for recreational activity and not utilized as a domicile or residence for any period of time. I plan to build one up there. I've asked council, mayor and council, to approve a second cabin, and that's before you guys tonight. The report that came from the planning department dated September 4th, I'm a little confused because that report is not in support of adding a second cabin. for reasons that it requires city sewer and water servicing. There's another comment in here, increasing the allowance to 2 recreational cabins raises concerns for the building official who first requires legally registered road access to get up, I guess, to inspect any buildings that are built. I'm confused as to why that's necessary. There's other buildings upstream from us that I'm sure have had renovations or been constructed in the past. I'm asking that you support the application and provide first and second reading when it goes to when it's discussed later in the evening.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else that wishes to address council at public input period? Seeing none, moving right along. Registered petitions and delegations. Delegation from Tourism Roslyn, please come forward.
Great, thank you for having me again. So I'm just going to speak very briefly about the shuttle bus. I'm hoping that the proposals that we've given you are clear. However, at the end of this, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Basically, this shuttle bus is the single biggest economic development initiative that we could take on at this point. It would have a direct and immediate effect on all local businesses. So every local business I've gone to has been in total support of it. In fact, when I was dialing for dollars today, I spoke to one business and I asked them for a certain amount of money and they doubled it. They said, well, this is the biggest thing that you can do. This is the best thing that you can do for our business. They were that supportive. We've partnered with all the different stakeholders here in town. We've partnered with Red Mountain Academy for the provision of the service, so that's going to be great for them to move their students around. Canadian Ski Quest, which is a local tour operator. Red Mountain Resort, obviously, they're partnering with them for this service as well. As well, we have over 20 other businesses who are committed to contributing to the shuttle bus. And I'm more than confident that we will have enough funding in place, should we get this funding tonight, to put this shuttle together. And also, I'm receiving checks now, so I'm asking for post-dated checks, so I know that I have confirmation of people's support. The Prestige Hotel, which wasn't able to come this evening, they booked the first ever ski groups. They've never booked ski groups before. They have 5. These ski groups, just to give you an idea of them, they're about 10 people each, and 20 people each, and they stay for 10 days. Big economic impact for all of us, coming from Quebec, Germany, and the U.S. And if there's no shuttle, those bookings will be lost right away. As Eric mentioned, Red Mountain's bookings are currently 65% ahead of where they were this time last year. So we're going to have a great year, and people are committing already to that. The shuttle will have a direct economic impact on restaurants and retailers like Roseanne, who spoke already. Restaurants, again, this is key for restaurants if we can pull the evening one in, because people are going to be able to stay longer in the restaurants, they're going to be able to drink more. It's going to be a really good effect for all of them, and moving people in between downtown and the ski hill. As well, it should be remembered that the shuttle was highlighted in the Visions to Action as a key part of our overall infrastructure development. So we're not doing anything here that's outside of what's already been planned. You've already received all of our letters of support, and I have more that came forward in the previous council package. So we've received lots of letters of support from all sorts of different organizations. So what will this bus look like? So we've broken this out into 2 distinct projects at this point. The bus would be free. Okay. So there has been some discussion about why don't we charge people for it. Because this is RMI funding and it's to be used for tourism infrastructure, what they've done in other communities is made it free for the visitors and charged the locals. And we don't think that would go over particularly well. So instead of charging people to get on the bus, what we're doing is we've charged the businesses for this. So the businesses have, in effect, bought tickets to use this service. We would contract to a registered and licensed company. It would have a continuous loop that it would just go round and round and round, but on a set schedule. So people would know exactly what time the bus would be coming. Should we be successful this evening, we can go ahead with the daytime shuttle immediately. And the daytime shuttle would be for 1 year, assuming we have no increase in RMI. However, If the RMI is doubled as we expect it will be and announced in October, the daytime, we would be able to go ahead for 2 years for a daytime and evening shuttle. So this would be great, 7:30 in the morning all the way to 10 o'clock at night with probably a break of about an hour sometime in there. So just go round and round and round all day, all night. It would be excellent service. So why is the timing so critical? And I've been bugging you about this since June because people are booking already. We have our first big event, which is the Toronto Ski Show in October, and we need to be able to say 100% for sure what we're selling for this winter. So we need to have this service in place, have a contractor, and be ready to go with the schedule and everything by October. And as you can imagine, we have to still draw up the contract and everything else, so we really need to do this as soon as possible. So we are asking for a response this evening, which I believe you are able to give. That was my feedback from that. And also the contractors that we've spoken to, there isn't a local contractor right now that has the bus, that actually owns a bus for the use that we would like to have. So we would expect that the contractors would probably have to purchase a bus. So again, this is another reason we have to do this as quickly as possible. And I just want to remind everybody that this is not City of Rossland taxpayer dollars. This is not coming from local taxpayers. This is a flow-through grant that Tourism Rossland has applied for and is received and administered by the city. Years ago, we used to receive this grant directly through to Tourism Rossland, which we would be happy to do again. But we are wholly responsible for this grant being here in place, and we are wholly responsible for working very, very hard to get to have this doubled. So I've been out there pounding the pavement all summer to try to get this funding doubled. So really, without Tourism Rossland, there would be no RMI funding. That's our business case for it.
Okay, first of all, I'll just ask if any councillors have any questions, and perhaps you can answer them. Let's start there.
Just for, just for clarification, the flow-through grant comes from
The
what
province.
source? Yeah, the province. Yeah.
Yeah, Councillor Walsh.
And that's because Rossland is a designated resort municipality.
And we collect the MRDT tax. So without us renewing that tax in 2012, there would be no RMI funding.
Okay, but it's because Rossland's a designated resort municipality.
But it's the two things. It has to be, for eligibility, it has to be a designated resort municipality, and you have to collect the MRDT tax.
Okay.
Yeah.
The MRDT tax we have allocated to Tourism Rossland for 5 years, correct? And that amount is roughly 56,000, is that correct?
Actually, the city, it doesn't flow through the city anymore. It's received
No,
directly.
no, it goes directly now, but it was a city council resolution that did that, right?
It was approval of the application.
City council approved that a year and a half ago, so that flows directly to Tourism Rossland now, correct?
Yes.
The RMI money flows through the city of Rossland through to projects that all the stakeholders have put together, is that correct?
Yes, it is. And earlier, about 3 years ago, we received that money directly every month from the city as well and administered it all.
Correct, and I know that is true to a point, and I don't want to beat that up. I think we should be asking questions about this particular proposal on, on what it is right now, not what we had a few years ago. So,
just for clarification,
yeah.
Designation for the increase and getting the 439?
Yes, 450 we needed.
Yeah, 450. What did we get?
481.
481. And so that's just still being determined at the province whether we qualify, but it says that they've designated 481 in the...
Yeah.
From
So
Goodwin, is that right?
We got a letter from Destination BC
Right.
Confirming that we had the required number, and we sent it over to the Ministry of Community Development. So they haven't made an official announcement yet about the doubling of it, but we've met all their requirements for the 2%.
right, but we won't know that until October. More questions?
We do.
Yeah.
Okay, I've asked this one before, and I've heard a couple of answers to it, but none of these answers have really given me what I'm looking for. I don't understand why this shuttle needs to be free. And because the hitchhikers didn't get on last year, that's not a good enough answer for me. This is not a service for the hitchhikers. And that other communities have decided to charge the locals and not the tourists. Now, that's just funny. But anyway, to me, I don't think that any of the tourists coming to visit this community would bat an eye at paying a toonie to hop on a bus. I really don't think that they would. So, and it gives the service some revenue other than the businesses throughout the community. And we know that the businesses throughout the community get hit pretty hard to support the community. So to not look at that, at a revenue source there at all, I don't understand.
The businesses have been overwhelmingly supportive of putting money towards this. I've had no complaints about putting it, and just if we were just to think about it, imagine you're a family of 5 staying up at Red. So all of a sudden it's going to cost you $10 to come down into town, $10 to go back. That's $20 to go shopping. I think you're going to start to think again about doing that. We've come up with an alternative model here. So most shuttle services, there is a portion of public funding for them, and then there is a portion of user funding of some kind. So in our case, the user funding is being paid for by the local businesses. I think that, you know, what we're trying to do is provide a service that's great for the locals. This would be excellent for all of the locals, the students, the people who work up at Red, and at the same time, it'd be a great service for the visitors as well.
Okay, so I'm just, Deanna, you're asking for 24 grand for the daytime one out of the RMI funding. What numbers are you looking for from the business community?
The remaining funds for it.
What is that?
I forget the exact number. It's in the proposal there. I think it's 48,932. So we would get the rest of the funding from the business community.
48. So then you're saying that was that 72? That's right. I remember the number. 72,000 for the daytime. Is that correct?
No, that's for the two.
That's for both?
Daytime and the evening. Yeah.
Okay. The next request, if there's no more questions. Oh, please, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just looking at, you know, sort of the day and night one, and this, I definitely understand the value in having a day and night shuttles, absolutely. I'm just wondering, when it comes to, you know, if you have to limit it to just day, I guess, what would be the particular reason of, if you had to choose day or night, why did you decide to choose day and not night? I mean, it might be obvious, but...
Just that was the one that was considered the most important at this point. So, especially because we're working with Red Mountain Academies, that's one of our key stakeholders for the daytime one. And with Red and the feedback that we've gotten, that is the place that we should start.
Okay, because I see that, you know, a day shuttle, it would, you know, it definitely benefits Ski Hill, it would benefit, you know, families and the downtown stores and, you know, anything with daytime operations, right? I'm thinking that it's actually, it wouldn't really benefit nighttime restaurants and lounges and the, I guess the accommodations at the Red Base, right? Because ultimately, they've been wanting travel in the night. And then in the daytime, and with the nighttime, you're kind of, it would be a switch to the benefits or the Red Base, the night places, but the nighttime wouldn't benefit the other one. So it does seem, it's unfortunate that with the daytime, you are kind of eliminating a part of the, the market that would really profit or benefit from this. So just, I guess, if there was, do you see there as still being a way of making up for that difference, even if this 2% doesn't come into play, in order to enable a daytime and nighttime shuttle?
No.
Because if it's just the difference of that extra bit of money, I guess, as in this proposal, those several $1,000s, could they be made up for in asking other companies and other local groups or companies or organizations to contribute and, offer advertising, or after being part of this initiative, essentially, or, exposure, and there are a number of value benefits, I guess, for
companies who aren't accommodators or restaurants or retail. The way I see it, there's that potential, right?
We have some of those already, but
Yeah,
I think
okay.
to try to think that we can come up with another 18,000 from the business community is just, I don't think it's realistic whatsoever.
Okay, so now who has had the opportunity to pay into this? I mean, I can see, there's potential value for other companies in the Greater Trail area who aren't, directly accommodators and whatnot, who to contribute to this. Have they been given the opportunity to do so? Has this been sort of advertised, or has it been just, that farther reach out, or have you just centered those, the requests for contributions to Rosenders?
I'm not sure what the value would be for most Greater Trail businesses, to be honest. I see this as impact directly for the local businesses. I think it would be a hard selling proposition to go to trail businesses to ask for funding for it. And then the other problem is that then we get into a situation where they want service as well, because that's how it would benefit. And then the route is just unwieldy. So we're trying to keep the route fairly tight.
Well, yeah, I think it could be made clear that, this is the route and this is all that this is what it contributed to, is this route, this is how it's going to run, this is the schedule, this is, these are the details. And, there's, what's the ridership you're expecting, daily ridership, what's the projected number?
You know what, I'm not sure.
Not sure, okay. So if we said that it was, I think last year it was in the 20s, right, like 2022 or something like that, was sort of the average daily ridership.
Yeah.
So if we said that since it's expanding, probably conservative, maybe 40, 50 or so. So there are that many eyes that would be exposed to advertising, or to, the schedules would also be, there'd be room for advertising on there and stuff. And anyway, I guess what I'm just proposing is that, and perhaps this is something that should stick to, conversation at the board level, and, we've touched on this briefly at the board level, but in order to not limit it and, exclude a whole sector of the market potentially with the nighttime one, if we're not able to do that day and night one with the RMI, with the 2% RMI thing. Anyway, just, is there potential to expand that at all?
The reason people are buying in is because they get access to the transportation. So, for example, the Sunshine's keen on it because there's a bus right in front of them. A business and trail, I'm not sure that they're gonna, there is an advertising potential, but I'm not sure. Can I speak to the charging thing, one more thing? Sorry, Kathy. Tourism Rossland can't take a financial risk on this, right? So we aren't in a position to say we might get X amount of revenue. We're trying to nail down all the revenue in advance so we know that we can go forward. We're a nonprofit society who cannot take a financial risk on this type of a project. So to say that we're going to rely on revenue from usership just isn't something that we're able to do.
I think the other thing that we have to understand, though, is we as a municipal council are responsible for this tax bill. So we have to ask the hard questions, and we have to make sure that others have asked the hard questions. And I think we're only being fair here, knowing both of our roles. Somebody else? You want to go?
Yeah, I can't vote on this. I sit on the board, so I gotta leave.
No, you...
We're not voting.
You didn't vote yet, though.
No, but you haven't voted, but I can't vote on it.
Just a
You don't have a motion yet?
delegation.
Just delegation?
So not just,
But the
it's
three of
a
us,
delegation.
three of us are on the board.
I know, but I'm a business on the board, Mayor Granster.
I don't know if that's,
Your worship, this time we're only in the delegation period.
Yeah, I know.
It'll be up to council whether
Yeah.
they want to address this further after the delegation.
yeah, I understand that.
To Councillor Fisher's point about conflict, if he feels that he's in a conflict,
That's right.
then
That's
you shouldn't.
That's right. So we'll see if we get to that stage, then we'll let you fill out some paper. Councillor Spearn hasn't spoken. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't really have any questions because you've been here quite regularly, which is great. But I do agree with the nighttime shuttle and being even maybe more of a key component economically, with people being able to come in and go out to and from the resort and have that freedom to come in, have dinner if they want, or stay at the resort in the ski lodge and consume alcohol and food and all those things. And that's a pretty big factor in this day and age about nighttime consumption of alcohol, to be honest. And it's not the key one as far as moving people around to the resort and making it a transportation-friendly community, but it certainly is a big factor. And not only is it about the green energy, it's about the parking at the ski hill, and it's about really offering that vibrancy to the community, the downtown businesses, that you're going to have that circuit going. So I really hope that's going to be day and night. And I think I agree, if we could charge something, great, but the model is what you're presenting, and I agree with that, in that people are going to come here, they're going to pay a lot of money, they're going to spend a lot of money, all these groups. So, the exponential kind of value in having that shuttle, I think it's enormous for our community. And, we're all kind of feeling, something new and, a little bit risky. We have to take that risk and just jump in and see what the numbers are. And I'll bet that we'll be sitting here saying, I hope, whatever council decides, that we made a good decision on behalf of the economy of our whole community. And I really hope it's day and night, to be honest, and that we can drive that, or you can drive that.
We've actually just on
Or
that,
they will drive it.
Just out of interest, we've had some businesses, for example, the Rock Cut and Steam Shuttle and Red, who operates also the Rafters, right? And they want to put money forward towards the evening and the day shuttle. So they all see that there's an importance for both of those as well. So we're trying to balance it off, and the feedback that we get is start with the day first, that's the most important one, and then if you can get more funding, then work on the evening one too.
Councillor Blooming.
Okay, so now what if, that there's, no RFP out there, no contractor definitively down sharing numbers and sharing schedule, so those kind of details aren't known yet. Now, what if, in order to get what you want, like the hour loop or however long the loop ends up taking, from spread over across those hours, the route that you want and the bus that you want, what if that comes back as more than the amount predicted in here? Now, who would have to make up for that shortfall? How would that be treated?
Well, I just want to remind you that the RMI funding to date has only been paid on invoice. So we invoice the city and they've been paying us. So there's not an opportunity here for more money coming from the city. It's always been paid by invoice. So, for example, with the Spokane shuttle service, that this is our second year operating it through the RMI, we submit an invoice and it's paid. So there's no opportunity, there's no risk to the city that it would be an additional cost. The budget numbers that we've gone to have been provided by contractors locally, and so we're comfortable with those budget amounts.
Okay, so if there was a shortfall though, would it just be, the offer be reduced, I guess, or would it just not happen, or would it, you'd go back to the the contributors and ask for more, or just what would be the action taken?
The risk here is for Tourism Rossland, because Tourism Rossland would be contracting to whichever company it is. So that would be up to the Board of Tourism Rossland to figure out what we're going to do. I have checks sitting on my desk already, ready to go for it, and I've got really good confirmation, and I've got a whole bunch more to go out to. So in the next week, in the next 2 weeks, I'm trying to get all the checks sitting there, so I know exactly how much I'm going to have. The contract will be a set price, so there'll be no opportunity for additional costs. The contract, as I suggested, is also included, or a draft copy of the contract. They're going to pay for all the maintenance, all the gas, all the insurance, the provision of the vehicle, the labor for the vehicle, the WCB, all of that is all there. So there's no, there should be no additional risk to us. Again, we're a nonprofit society, so we want to ensure that we don't have any risk ourselves moving this contract forward.
Okay. And sorry, just also, there's now how many days would the service be provided over the season?
114.
114. Okay.
Councillor Fisher. No, he was first.
So I went to a competitor's ski area a couple of years ago, drove there, and stayed at a cool condo, went skiing, did all that kind of stuff. Got on a bus, and it was free. went down to the main village, did my thing, had a couple drinks, had lunch, had some more drinks, then had dinner, had a few more drinks.
You have a problem.
And from a safety point of view, we all know the little road that we have. I mean, I think it would improve our safety, also, if we could be running nighttime shuttles. Just the whole feeling of the connection between that particular ski area and the little village, and the little village that we have here, and the ski area, and that connectivity. I mean, to me, even the hassle of pulling out my wallet to having to pay for a $2 thing when I probably spent $175 that night, just doesn't make any sense to pay $2 when I just spent $200 on dinner and wine and everything else, right? It doesn't. So it's all relative. And for that guy or that tourist that's here to have that service, I think. I mean, really, if we had a year-round service and we were busy like that all year round, that would be the goal going forward, I would think. That's what Rosslyn wants. I mean, we're a resort municipality, for crying out loud, right? At the end of the day, that's what we are. That's what the moniker says.
I didn't say anything about $2. That was over there.
No, I know.
Oh.
I'm just looking at everyone and trying to.
You're looking and glaring
No, I'm
at
not
me.
glaring at anyone. I just think that if we look at it from that standpoint, how relaxed the consumer is. They get on the deal. They come into town. They go to
Spend big money.
They spend money. They spend money.
Agree.
I can't remember. Thatch hasn't spoken, sorry.
Well, see, I think it's a worthy project. I think it'd be good for the businesses in town, good for the accommodators in town to get skiers up to the ski hill. Also good for any parents around town, save them from driving their kids up to the ski hill, and free up parking and that. And I think daytime it'd be a free shuttle wouldn't be bad, but for nighttime, if it comes down to that, as Councillor Fisher said, people are coming into town, they're going to be eating and drinking. A loonie or toonie out of their pocket isn't a big deal, for the nighttime shuttle anyhow. For the free daytime, I can see a free shuttle, but for the nighttime, I think it's a different crowd, coming into town. A loonie or a toonie for after spending $175, it isn't I don't think anybody would bought that.
Again, it's a very hard model for a nonprofit society to run because we can't guarantee the revenue. So we wouldn't be able to.
You might not have to, you put that money in the coffers for the following year to help build up funds for the following year.
Counselor.
Okay, so I have to admit that I'm very much on the fence and actually leaning in the direction of, just as far as the pay thing, I have a hard time wrapping my head around why it should be free all the time. And just now is the first time I've considered that idea of, paying at nighttime and not in the daytime, and that's good. But anyway, the last year it was very limited. There were about 22 a day or something. Anyway, so if we're saying that the offering is increasing drastically, and so if you just double that plus, let's say 50 as a roundish number, and 50 per day, and that's probably quite conservative considering, the ridership before when it was so much more limited. But then I don't know, the business plan going into this. But, so let's say it was $2 for 50 people a day. That in itself, over 120 days, that's, over $12,000, right? And so that's a pretty good chunk to make up for any of the potential shortfalls between either, having a day and night one, or having, if there turns out to be just cost overruns, I guess. Then, and as Councillor Thatcher said, if for some reason that wasn't necessary for this year, it could be put away for next year.
Well, if I can speak to cost overruns, every single project that we have done so far with the RMI has come in considerably under budget, thousands of dollars under budget. We've never had a cost overrun on any of our projects. We have totally clear and open accounting. I'm very good at coming in under budget and not overspending. But again, taking a risk with having to charge, I think is just, it's too much for the organization. When the businesses that are paying it, they're buying the tickets for guests, to try to encourage guests and locals to come to their businesses.
I guess I see that, the potential ridership paying as well as the businesses, as well as the chunk from the RMI. Those are all different entities contributing to making this happen, right? So, just because one is paying into it doesn't mean that another can't, right? It doesn't include that.
Councillor Wallace was first. Good.
I'm generally supportive, and I know that the community needs a service like this. But I've sat on our local transit committee long enough to know how difficult it is to provide transportation. And I'm not sure that you have the right model together. The free fare, I really don't support that. The way that you have it set up so that we have a bus running from 7:30 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night with maybe a little hour in between, and it's just continually looping. Well, this community has done a lot of work regarding reduction of GHG emissions. And so we have, we're adding a bus onto the road, and given the numbers that used this pilot project last year, we didn't see really highly significant numbers. So we have a potential of a bus running around, adding to our GHG emissions, and there's nobody riding it. Anyway, sorry, I'm going on. You're right.
You're the transit lady. I gotta go to Jill, because she was next.
Yeah.
Okay, just for clarification, Your Worship, Councillor Fisher, I think he was speaking against the $2 thing, were you not?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, because Councillor Thatcher made it sound like you were speaking for the $2 thing. Anyway, the $2 thing is ridiculous. This is a huge Tourism Rosin initiative, and let's roll with it for a year and see how it goes. And GHG is going around our community. Frankly, you're taking 50 or 70 cars off the road. So I think I understand what you're trying to say, but the bus is not going to be empty, hopefully. And if the bus is empty, the shuttle is empty, then Tourism Rosin will look at that and have the data after a year. But if we don't do it, how are we ever going to know? And, it's a huge initiative. And the businesses in this community who have filled this council chamber more than once are in support of it. So we are representatives of the community of Rawson. We were elected by all these people. So why this kind of angst against this? I just don't understand it. So if we could just move on and get off the Toonie topic.
Well, I think Councillor, you make some good points about the fact that we were elected by the citizens of Roslyn. We also represent the money to the province of British Columbia, and I think if we don't ask questions, I think it's our duty to ask questions.
I didn't say we're not to ask
No,
questions. I'm not disagreeing with the asking questions.
Please, thank you. So
But don't scold me because
I'm
I don't need to be scolded.
I'm telling you, we have the right to ask questions, and that's what we're doing.
Exactly.
And we'll
And I have the
continue
right
to do
to
that
comment.
until you can. And I'm telling you, we have the right to ask questions, and we will ask questions until there's no more questions to be asked.
Very good.
Councillor Fisher.
I didn't say couldn't.
So, here, just as a matter of, if you remember, like, 10 years ago, Rawson would have quite a few more people that would be considered youngish ski bums, right? And they've sort of migrated to different ski areas for different reasons and things like that. Something like this, and you think that there's not much economic impact to that student that shows up in your town and is taking the year off to go skiing. There is an economic impact there. They fill rental units, they shop at the grocery stores, they go out to the pubs at night. They're part of the fabric of the community. Part of that fabric is sort of sliding, or it's missed in Roslyn at the moment. And I know that the ski area is looking for people to come in from New Jersey and New York and Chicago and all these other places and stay for 10 days fill the condos and all that, and they spend a lot of money, but also those day, not the day pass, but the seasons pass ski bum that finds out that, oh, I don't need my car, I can come to Ross, I can rent a little place in town, and I can head up to the hill every day on this thing. Think about that, $2. That doesn't seem like a lot. They go there every day, that's $4 round trip. Over a week, it's $28 to a guy that's got to buy a case of beer on Friday night. That's his case of beer, right? So you think that's ridiculous, but what I'm saying is that has the potential to attract people here. It really does. It has the potential. That something as silly as that, a free shuttle, has potential to attract people here. And people say, well, do we really want them? Well, of course you do. They add to the character of town. They always have. And a lot of us are here because we were ski bums. Not me, but some of those people out there.
Okay, you done, Councilor?
That's I'm done.
I'm gonna give it to Councilor Blooming to ask a couple of questions, and I'm gonna ask if the council wishes to make a decision at this time.
Okay. So, yeah, I feel I'm going to jump ahead then and explain my intentions in all these questions and what I'm doing here. Is, you know, ultimately my plan tonight is to say, okay, so why don't we make a decision tonight? Obviously, they need a decision, so make a decision tonight. And then when it comes to vote, I do want to vote for it. And that's where I'm coming from and have been coming from along here. It's just that I also have many people in the community asking me, why are they not charging? Why is it running this way? Why is it not running this way? Why is it, you know, I'm getting a lot of, the questions I've asked are questions that are being asked of me. And I don't have it down on paper and analyzed in front of me. I haven't been presented with the solid answers to that and the reasoning behind it. And so in order for me to dish them out, I need to ask them and get them. And so if they sound like heady questions, it still answers that I need in order to, you know, carry a conversation with people who are other citizens who have voted for us and who have equal right to say, you know, what's going on, right? So we have to have these details, and since they're not in writing and they're not in front of us, we have to ask them.
Okay, I think there may be more debate if we make a decision to have a vote. So, procedure bylaw, Ms. Butler, if it's unanimous, we can.
Your worship, it's at the will of council whether they want to make a motion.
Is it unanimous? Well,
No, it isn't.
okay. So I will leave it as it is the will of council. Who wishes to make a motion? Just a sec. Yeah, I know, but what?
I'm 100% sure, sorry.
Yeah, but the shuttle doesn't go to your bus, not pecuniary for you. Are you sure?
I think so.
Yeah, but so she's on the board too.
No,
It's not a
business.
business.
Oh, business on
City
the.
liaison.
Decision.
No, that's fine. I'm just.
No, but all right.
Ay, ay, ay.
So, does someone
I was
wish
just
to make?
checking.
Does someone
I
wish
will
to
make the motion that, where is it written?
It's not one written.
Okay, could you, yes, I will. So I'm reading the whereas, or the understanding?
Yeah, whereas.
From the top?
Well,
Okay, just the whereas.
Just the whereas.
So I'll make the motion that Tourism Roslin recommends the council approve the expenditure of Resort Municipality Initiative funding, and that's the answer to your question for people on the street, of $24,000 for the operation and related costs for an internal daytime shuttle bus for the winter of 2013-2014. And further, that Tourism Roslin recommends that council approve the expenditure of Resort Municipality Initiative funding incremental $18,000 for 2013-2014 and $42,000 for 2014-2015 for the operation and related costs for an internal day and evening shuttle bus, subject to the confirmation that Roslin has become a 2% RMI community. So just for clarification for myself making the motion, so we are voting on a two-year proposal.
The first.
As we've been talking about the first
The first
one.
is a 1 year, and
Yes.
there's no subject to. So the 1 year, your motion would pass the 1 year daytime thing.
Yes.
The second phase of your motion, if
It's
2%, it would go to 2 years.
Yes.
So that's,
And so I can speak to the motion.
well, let's get a second.
Oh, we need a second.
Maybe we should do that. There's a seconder, seconded by Councillor Thatcher. Please speak to the motion, Ms. Spearn.
Okay, well, I've already spoken to it, but with relation to what Councillor Blumey said about responsibilities to other citizens, no doubt, and their questions around it. But you need to clarify for them, and I think that you probably have a pretty good understanding of this, is that the Resort Municipality Initiative and the funding that we get comes from the province because we are a resort municipality, and that we've done a lot of work in this community to become that in order to benefit from this initiative, from this funding. And it's been put to all kinds of awesome use in our community, be it signage, et cetera, and all the other projects that Tourism Roslin has undertaken. So the answer is, we're not paying out of taxpayers' pockets, it's flowing through. Yes, we can use it for other projects, which we will, but I don't think it's a hard answer to people that this comes from the provincial government because we are a resort municipality and get both those fundings. So, and that's all I need to say. Obviously, I'm in support of it. For free.
Oh, yeah, as I said earlier, I think it's a worthy project. I would have rather seen it just 1 year, even if we do become 2%, but that's fine. At the end of next season, though, I'd like to see a report on, the usership, by locals and by tourists, to give us a good idea of the numbers. And say, I agree with Councillor Bloom there, I've been asked questions too by a lot of long-time Roslin citizens that, and I had to explain to them as RMI money, where that money's come from, but, a lot of the older folks are still upset that there's something free going on that, the majority of them won't use. But, so that's where that's all coming from, but, I'd just like to see a nominal charge for nighttime usage, but say a daytime is fine, but is fine for free, but I'm willing to support this.
Councillor Blumey.
Okay, so all right, well, first of all, now the argument can be made, and I've heard of this argument being made, is, it's not such a simple answer to say RMI funds, they're going through RMI funds, you're not paying money into it. Because ultimately, no matter whatever we decide to put RMI money towards, there's an opportunity cost, right, to that, of what we've decided against, or what we're not putting money towards, in order to put it towards this. And so the argument can be made that, if this is such a huge, valuable thing to private industry, I guess, or the companies in Rossland, if it is so valuable, and if they're willing to put forward, the percentage that they are, the 2/3 or whatever it is, then why not the rest of it? Or why not run it at that expense, that what they're able to get, and, use this for something that wouldn't have another way of being paid for, but that would also have value. Mm-hmm. And so, and I'm not saying that I don't support this shuttle, but there are still a lot of unknowns and a lot of maybes and opportunity costs and all that we do have to explore and analyze and look into when we're looking into this. Anyway, so partly because of that, and I feel like I can only say I would like to vote in favor of having a 1-year commitment to this. I don't feel, from like a business and government responsibility kind of point of view, I don't feel comfortable committing for 2 years yet. I mean, it could easily come up once it's tested and done and the unknowns are known and the costs are for sure known and participation is measured, then it would be an easy decision to say, yes or no for the second year. And I'm thinking it's probably going to end up being yes to a second year. But I need to have more firm answers and numbers before I can say 2 years, because there is the opportunity cost of what else could this money go towards if not this. So anyway, I don't know if, now that Councillor Spurn read through the entire thing, but did we decide to just treat the first section separately?
No, it's all in one motion.
No, based on the 2%.
Okay, so, I kind of need them to be separated out, I guess.
Well, I think what
Well, you have to vote against it. It's, I mean, that's more than a friendly amendment in my mind. So if you want it separated out, then you'll have to vote the way you will, and then
Okay, so
and wait for the result.
we'll end up voting.
Well, I think
in favor.
there's a pretty simple way here. I mean, certainly,
You can split it out.
well, I think, me personally, I agree a bit with the opportunity costs. I agree that it may be wise to see how it works for 1 year, for both, that you do become 2%. I see that's fine, and as was spoken, if we wish to proceed further, it's very simple to do it again. I think that the rush right now, or not the rush, but you need an answer by early October, and that's the rush to judgment. And if we say yes to the shuttle for 1 year and have a look at it and go for next year.
Can I speak to the 2
Sure.
years? What we found with the Spokane shuttle, especially, is it's been great having 2 years. Just to give you an idea, the last 3 months of my time, the only thing I've done is shuttle. I haven't done anything else.
Wow.
So this does free up a lot of time if we can have it for 2 years and then just tweak it for the second year. That's what we did with the Spokane shuttle, and it's been great. The first year, we were way under budget, we tweaked it, and we've got a better service. So
Okay, thank you. But I'm trying to find a way that we can get something done here tonight that will work for you. Councillor Walsh.
I have the same feeling. I have the feeling that to run it for a year, maybe I can support that. I do. I feel like it was kind of cut off earlier, but I don't think that we have this service set up properly. I think it would be far more valuable to people using it, that there is some opportunity for a service on demand. To try and run it 7:30 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, you're going to see an empty bus. And I've heard comments from some of the people sitting back there about the empty public transit buses that are running up and down the hill. No, I'm talking right now.
I gotta get
And so, to me, you're going to have people that want it at 7:30 in the morning. You're going to have people that want it throughout the day. But you're going to have some real empty spaces when that bus is not wanted. And then you're going to have it running until 10 o'clock at night. But there's people that are going to need service at midnight. So that piece of it doesn't make sense to me. I don't think that it's really fulfilling the need that people that need a bus are looking for. So to commit to this and say, let's run it for a year and see what it looks like, that I can support. To commit to it for 2 years, you probably won't get my vote. So that's where I'm sitting at.
Councillor Spear.
So, Councillor Wallace just said something about empty transit buses, and we have talked about buses at this table many times. Firstly, we're talking about a shuttle as opposed to a transit bus, but the transit buses are empty lots of the times. But because you have to run that on a schedule, as you well know, and we all know, yes, there's times when the bus is going to be empty. And there probably will be times when the shuttle isn't as full as we would all like it to be, like on a Monday evening or something. And maybe after a year, when the data is there, and we can look at it in Tourism Roslin, and the city can look at it and say, okay, here are the peaks and the valleys and the consistent data, and Deanne's been superlative at providing us with data, and I'm sure, and she will, and Councillor Thatcher said something about the data. The data, it said in the report, is going to be kept by the shuttle driver. That's going to be part of his job, so we have clear data. But to only have data for 1 year and then base decisions on that, to me, that's not very wise economically or as decision makers. So I'm standing by this 2-year commitment to the businesses in our community who we don't have very much opportunity to support our businesses at this table in many ways. We know tax cuts, none of that thing. It's expensive to have businesses in Rossland, and I applaud the people who do that. There's a huge expansion going on at Red Resort as we speak, and frankly, I don't want to miss the bus on this opportunity, or the shuttle. So I want the resolution voted on, and then, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna call a question. I think everyone has an idea. Yes, please.
Sorry, can I just express that I will be voting against this just because I do want to have a chance to vote at one that moves us forward for just a year, because I think that would be a more successful motion, and I like better personally.
Right,
And then
so-
also to use 1-year data, it's still, 1-year real life data, it's still so much more valuable than having absolutely no data. I mean, we don't even have any projected data right now. It's nothing. So I just, it would take one day however long it would take to just look at the data and then make the decision and then go on. So it's not going to hold anything back.
No,
One more, please. I think some of the data was presented here in the 20 new groups of people that are coming. And those people, as well as the rest of us who might just want to get on that shuttle and have a beer after skiing and not have to worry about it and feel like we're doing a really great thing for the planet, for one thing, as well as the economy, like all those pillars that we talk about, this speaks to all the pillars. And, we're debating, so I'm debating. So obviously, I believe that data from 1 year, maybe it's not the greatest snow year for some reason coming up, heaven forbid, but that happens. And so you're going to base all the decisions for the next 10 years about tourism and shuttles or how many ever years on a year where, it does this. We've seen all the data that goes up and down, but we want to have data to support moving forward. So I would wish the council would have the courage to support this motion.
Well, I think, first of all, if it was a bad snow year, that would be data that anybody would take into account. Second of all, if we want, I think it's quite apparent, if we wish to move forward here, we will vote on your motion, and then if someone wishes to move something else, we will.
Absolutely.
We all have the courage to sit here because we all are concerned about our community, and we all want our business community to survive.
Absolutely.
It's just a thing about courage.
It's a word.
It's a word. I'll call the question on the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's defeated. Jody?
I move.
Do you want your vote recorded?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. It's defeated.
I want mine recorded as in favor.
You made the motion. Yes?
I move that council approve the expenditure of Resort Municipality Initiative funding of $24,000 for the operation and related costs for an internal daytime shuttle bus for the winter of 2013-2014. And am I adding the 2% change?
Mm-hmm.
And if, subject to the confirmation that Roslyn has become a 2% RMI community, the council approves the expenditure of Resort incremental $18,000 for 2013 and 2014.
You get that? Seconder?
I'll second
Councillor Wallace?
it. No, actually, I don't want to second it. Thank you.
It's okay, I did already.
Councillor Wallace seconded. All right, any further discussion on the 1 year?
But, Jesus Christ.
On the motion, all in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you're gonna dish it out, Jill.
I'm not dishing it out.
Okay.
Why? Because I commented something through debate to you? I'm not dishing anything out.
Okay, we need to take a minute? Or
No, she needs to.
you both?
No, I will take a minute.
You need a minute?
Yeah, I do.
Can we get Carrie, please?
Thank you.
We're having a brief pause.
Oh, we are? Okay. I missed the last
I think so too, actually.
There's another way it was going nowhere.
No.
And she's like,
No, it's not your turn, no,
I'm
no.
allowed out of the corner now?
You woke up?
What is it?
Well, they got their 1 year. Yeah.
What's that?
They got their 1 year, so.
Well, if it's successful, it's 2 years.
Well, I think, you know what, I think it's gonna be successful.
Successful, go out there and prove it. Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me. I don't like it. Well,
With the money to wish
not midnight yet.
It will be.
Where's Carrie? Come on.
They're probably gonna interview.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, what's the one that
It's for 2013, it's for this coming season, not for the next season.
Oh, it is 1 year. I just found out that in full of my life after reading that, and then I'll gotta go back there and say, no, I didn't know.
Gotcha.
Oh, I don't have a problem with that. I don't like how Jill starts yapping at me as though I've done something. I don't like that. I'm not gonna put up with it.
You did it just based on logic.
Carrie, let's go.
We're back.
We're back. Okay.
Number
Where
are
are
we
we?
on?
7A, development variance permit application, 2062 Georgia Street. A motion that council approve the development variance permit application to vary the description.
You said 7A?
Yeah, because we added 4. That's why it's.
Page 26?
7A, trust me.
7A.
6A on
It
it.
says 6A.
I know it's 6A, but
Oh,
it's
because
7A
we
because we
added.
added 4.
Oh, on the new one.
So it's 6A or 7A, whatever you want. Development variance permit application, is there a mover to the staff recommendation that council approve the development variance? Moved by Councillor Thatcher, seconded by Councillor Blumey. Discussion.
It's not a very big variance, and there's been no letters of objection, so I don't have any problem with that at all.
Councillor? No, anything further? On the motion, all in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Seven B, zoning amendment, MA1 recreational common. The staff recommendation is that council does not advance the application. Is there a mover to that? Is there another motion? Councillor Blumel.
Well, I move that we accept the application.
Well, I think what we'd have to do is, what we can do is put it to first, second reading if council wishes, and then have the public comment on it. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
That's what I meant, to move forward, yeah.
Is there a seconder to that?
Second.
Councillor Wallace, discussion?
I guess, you know, I mean, it's, I guess similar to what I said last time, is that, you know, I understand the situation is, you know, I understand where our city staff is coming from. And the thing is, though, is that this situation, I just don't, you know, we are making a one-off decision right now, and I don't believe that this situation really fits the, you know, the what-if scenarios that we're trying to prevent by saying no. And so basically this definition of the recreation cabin and just kind of, you know, adding another one there, I'm not worried about the footprint that would cause, and I don't see a really good concrete reason to say, no, let's not do this.
Anybody else? Councillor Wallace?
Well, you know, I kind of toss back and forth with this. We have so many of these existing already, and I guess I'm in support of it going to first and second reading. We'll see what kind of public comment we get back, and then later down the road, I may reconsider, but at this point, I'll support it.
Okay, further? Counselor?
I guess I was just curious from a kind of land use perspective. The land is landlocked. Does that make sense? The lots are... do a Highland dance or something. So, the parcel is landlocked, and I guess I'm just curious about, like, access, because I think Red Resort is surrounding that piece. So is there a road, is through you to the planner, is there road access, or is there accessibility to, like, how do they get there, other than on skis? Like, how do they get materials there and everything if there's no road access?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Spear, I'm not able to provide you an answer. What we're looking at is legal access to the property. There is none established, and therefore it's not what we're looking at, how the owner would actually get the materials there. We're looking at how we would actually monitor the job. So naturally, in order to monitor this hypothetical construction project, we'd need legal access to issue a building permit.
So have we, just curious, have we had situations like this before where we've had applications to construct and there has been no legal road access?
But currently the MA1 cabin on properties up there
We don't have any road
don't have
access.
it already, yeah.
But they're already built.
No, there's not all built.
Okay.
Someone if it's zoned. could
So,
build.
yeah, I guess I'm just trying to understand the land use part of it, like the access part. If Red Mountain said you can go through, you can go through. If Red Mountain says no, you can't go through, like, I guess I'm just trying to understand a little bit more clarity on getting to the parcel. Like how does the owner construct and get building permit down the road without road access?
I believe the owner has an agreement with Red Mountain, as they have a reciprocal agreement. I don't know. But I know that in our report, it said, somewhere in the report, said that he has an agreement with Red Mountain.
Oh.
Counselor?
I never read that, and I read the report, but however.
Well,
Could clarification from the planner on that, or somebody?
Your Worship, we have not seen a formally registered easement to cross either property, and we as well don't have. We have nothing on our mapping system, and talking with the surrounding landowner, we don't have any knowledge of a registered easement. So to issue a building permit, normally you will need some formally registered access agreement to get to that parcel.
Could I add to that, Your Worship? But the proponent did send an email saying that he had an agreement with Red. What our planner is saying is that the agreement is not legally registered.
Thank you.
Councilor Fisher?
So, I'm gonna vote that it goes to first and second, 'cause it doesn't matter, 'cause they've got one already, so it didn't matter whether he has legal, non-legal, whatever. If by all the rules, he couldn't do one, if we vote that he can do two, he still can't do two. We could vote that he could do 10. So nothing matters unless he gets the...
Yeah, I understand.
Right? So, for me, everything that we've put in it, thus far, to me, it's a moot point. I don't mind letting it go to first and second. The thing about Rossland and all the cabins that we have that are out there, and beyond the cabins just adjacent to our town, all the cabins that everybody uses, they're all in violation of MOF and all these other things. And so, do you think, oh yeah, we're gonna just be willy-nilly cabins everywhere? Well, we are already, to a certain degree. And they haven't burned them down yet. As long as people don't stay in them overnight, they're able to use them up on the whatever.
Reno's
Travis,
Run.
all that.
Oh.
Everywhere, even the ones on Blackjack. There's cabins out on Blackjack for crying out loud, and you're not supposed to stay in them overnight. So, and people don't, and maybe some people do. But, no, I don't have a problem with two at all. So, first and second is fine with me.
Okay, anything further? Okay, on the motion to allow first and second reading and to go to public hearing? Sorry?
Your Worship, can we set that public hearing date, please?
What's the
I suggest it being that first one in October.
first meeting in October? Is that all right with everyone? adding that to the motion. Okay, on that motion, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. And that was the first meeting in October, right? Information items, motion to receive the information items and act subject to the recommendations herein. Is there a mover to that? Recommendation items, moved by Councillor Thatcher, seconded by Councillor Fisher. Who has an item that they wish to bring up? No? Okay. So on the motion to receive, all in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Bylaws. The first one is that council give final reading to bylaw 2554, Columbia Avenue and Washington Street Upgrade Loan Authorization Bylaw 2013. Is there a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wallace, seconded by Councillor Fisher. Discussion on the AAP process. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. St. Paul Street Road Closure Bylaw, I can't read it, 2557, I think. That the city advance staff request and provide first, second, and third reading to the bylaw 2557 and set the public presentation opportunity on September 23rd. Is there a mover to that? Moved by Councillor Spearn, seconded by Councillor Fisher. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Members' reports. Councillor Spearn.
I just have to find it. Okay, here.
I should start on the
Mr.
other side.
Maturoli?
Yeah.
Anyway, if you could pass on, and to the city, the whole, organization of traffic and traffic flow and parking around the new RS school, which is our school at this point, Roslyn School. I know the planning department in the city, and I'm sure there were others who were involved, have worked very hard with the school administrators to make those changes, and so I just wanted to pass on kudos and thanks to the planning department and the city for helping to try and get this going. I know there's still some conversations around the flow on Washington, because it is a pretty precarious corner there. We're trying to get the kids to cross at 3rd Avenue, but instinctively they want to cross closer to the building, which is where the hill comes down. So hopefully it'll all work out and we won't lose any kids. And speaking of the school, I know that there has been some migration of some of the grade 9s down to Crow from RSS, and so the numbers aren't very firm right now, but I'll have better numbers for council about what the school really looks like once we get September 30th final numbers in, because it seems like there's a little bit of a migration of kids that we were expecting to stay in Roslyn, because it goes K to 9 now, and so some of the 9s have looked at Crow and their friends going down, and they're sort of, they're migrating. So it remains to be seen what the numbers will be like, but like I said to the superintendent when he popped in this week, I said it'd be really nice if the kids who lived in Roslyn in grade 8 and 9 went to school in Roslyn, but we don't have the power to tell them where to go to school, so unless they're full down there. So anyway, I attended the time capsule burial, as did the mayor on Friday afternoon. That was really interesting, lots of great details, and I'm sure the mayor might add to that, but Ryan McGill did an awesome, outstanding job, and other than the weather was significantly wet that day, it was a pretty good turnout, and the kids got to throw the dirt on, and yeah, it was a great little ceremony. I'm sure there'll be lots of pictures coming out. I also attended the parade, and that was great. The only thing I did hear from some kind of business people was that it seemed kind of dead downtown during the day. It might have had something to do with the weather. But I think, and I've said this a couple times, both to the committee and on the weekend, that it would be nice if the parade could somehow include the downtown, but still end up with the festivities uptown. But I think the feeling from some of the business people I talked to was that we needed something downtown to show some vibrancy downtown core. So I don't know if the Golden City Days Committee wants feedback, but I will write them a little email and just thank them, of course. And I do want to say here publicly thank you to Terry Brinson and all of the volunteers that work so hard to pull that off, because it's a huge event. Street furniture looks great. I think we're done with all the street furniture now. It's all in, all the benches. Yeah, looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And, you know, lots of places to sit now. So, anyway, that looks great. Wordmark Committee, we had a meeting, Jody and Shelley and myself, because Councillor Moore is away, and we're getting closer to bringing it to council. She had quite a few new choices, so we'll bring those to council as soon as she gets back to us. And haven't had an NOL meeting for a while. The Seven Summits Learning Center is up and running, which is grades 8 to 12. Again, I think there's at least 25 kids in the program. They're housed in the parish hall, but I think they're out at Red right now for the month while they're still getting that going, or a week or something. So, yeah, I think that's all I have.
Thank you. I think maybe we could shuttle people down from up there in the fire truck. We're good at going up and down the hills now, right?
Oh, we're really good. We did our own parade.
Oh, there's that, sure.
Well, so I've heard some comments too about Gold City Days, about the lack of events downtown too. It'd be nice to get a few of them more downtown to involve the, you know, the downtown business, get some more people downtown. But overall, you know, it was a good festival. Museum, the attendance this year is, as of August, attendance is up about 400 over last year, so getting more people there this year. Yeah, there's a couple special events up there. There's where the wild things are, and the midsummer night party. There was quite a few people there, but it would have been nice to see more. They had some musicians up there. It would have been nice to see some more people there, but they turned out all right. We've got some guest speakers going on at the museum. The first one was a few days ago, and there's 2 more coming up. I forget the dates now. Had some complaints from some people about the water bills still. They have a hard time reading the water bills. So I just, you know, is there any way we can make it a little more simplifying? You know, I don't know how we can do it, but I've had some comments about them, so. But other than that,
yeah, sure.
We can look at it, but I know from a prior life that the water bills that come canned with the information system that the city has are not pretty, and it costs a lot of money to make them pretty. So perhaps what we could do is just put an ad out saying this is how to read them. Because when we looked at it in this prior life, it was $30,000 for a custom change. Now, that could have changed, but it's very expensive.
We did send out an information sheet that said, number 1, this is what
Oh, you did, okay.
we can resend that.
yeah. Well, it's just, you only get them every 3 months now. It's easy to forget. But no, it's still, there's been a few comments about it. So. That's her.
Environmental Services meeting last week. The packaging and printed paper of the Extended Producer Responsibility Program will be coming into effect next May. I think that's the right month. So our regional district needed to decide how it would manage that program. So it's whether to accept an incentive, which is a certain amount of money, in order to continue to deliver the service, or to say, nope, those manufacturers can take it over. So what we decided at the meeting last week was for the East End service, which is the one, of course, that we're involved in, we have declined the incentive program, and the extended producer responsibility, that's not the right term, the right group, but anyway, they will be taking over the program as of May or June of next year. In the boundary, the regional district will continue to deliver the service until our contractual agreements are up there. And there are a few depots still running, I think just a couple in the East End, more so in the boundary. And especially Rossland's business recycling program, where they pick up. That we will maintain. But it's just a very interesting one, because this has been coming for a long time, and it's a good thing.
It means that if you, manufacture it, then you are responsible for it, through to the life of, to the end of that, the life of that, whatever it is that you built. So, there's a lot of change going on in environmental services right now, and, a piece of that is revision of the solid waste management plan, in order to incorporate this kind of stuff, but as well to look at the landfills, and possibly extending the life of the landfills, and also organic waste diversion. So, it's a big thing, but anyway, that's coming down the pipe.
So, could I just ask a question?
Yeah.
So then, where it starts at the manufacturer, so when you say for the life of the product, so, can you just explain that? So, if you manufacture cereal boxes or whatever, you make cereal, you're responsible for the waste that's of that box. So what does that mean? They charge them, or?
It passes on to the consumer. The charge passes on to the consumer,
Yes.
instead of it having to be tax dollars that take care of it in the end.
Oh, I see.
You buy it.
Oh, I thought it went back to the manufacturer, and that they somehow responsible to diminish the amount of waste that they create in their product. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's just that the manufacturer becomes responsible. So it's a part of the zero waste program that they've been on for years, and we're getting closer, so kind of a good thing. The only other thing I had a phone call from a couple of people. Now that we have 3B paved, we have a fair amount of road riding going on up there, and I would bet probably more now that it's nice and smooth. There are concerns from some people that the, what do you call the border?
Shoulder, or the fog line, inside the fog line.
That it wasn't paved. Certainly concerns about some conflictive situations between multi-users, between drivers and road riders. But I did mention it to the mayor, and he mentioned that there's a new little sign on the way into Warfield, nice little bike there saying share the road. As far as I know, there isn't any type of signage like that up on 3B. And considering the amount of road riding going on 3B, there really should be some signage for the drivers to know that there is road riding going on 3B. So, I just wondered if council would support me in sending a letter off to the Ministry of Highways suggesting to them, or Transportation and Infrastructure, whatever, suggesting to them that they might want to look at that and perhaps get some signage on there.
I think that we can do that as a council, send them a letter. I don't know, it's not Glenn Olick anymore, he retired, I can't remember who took over for him. But you can find that out, and just ask, because they do have that signage down in Warfield, so it's available for highways. Okay?
Is the highway just gonna be left like that, like with those blunt edges? That's it?
I don't know, they're not that blunt.
Yeah. I don't know, I mean, I'm not a road rider, but it seems like there's a little lip there that could trip you pretty easily.
Well, but anyway, share the road is...
Anyway, so that's it for me. Do we need a motion for writing a letter?
No.
Okay.
We'll get it. Okay, Councilor Fisher. No, Councilor Blue.
So, we had a Tourism Roslin board meeting a couple of weeks ago now, I guess, and, yeah, it's August 22nd. And there is now a weather station at Red Mountain that was, it was shared cost between Tourism Roslin and Red Mountain, and you can access that, weather report on Wonderground with a U, well, W-U. There's also a new Tourism Roslin website, which looks really good. I think a lot of time and effort went into that, and it looks really good. I feel like I had one more kind, and I can't remember what, because I didn't write it down. Probably.
He already said he's finished.
Oh.
Well, interrupt me if you need to, because I don't have too many. I told council I would go up to have a look at the 4th Avenue alley situation, and I did, and I talked to some residents up there, and I will say that my efforts were less than fruitful, and the matter is, been taken up by the RCMP, so we'll leave that alone for now. Good news, the Norwegians are coming. There's a good chance that at this winter carnival, a band called Sprout will be here from Stanvik, which is near Cernerdal, which is our sister city. There's 6 of them. They're kind of a Norwegian bluegrass group, as well as perhaps some other journalists from Cernerdal County. So that is kind of good news, because our relationship could blossom. I think it could be a good thing.
Could you make sure that they plan a big enough venue?
Well, that's the problem.
RSF auditorium?
We're trying to figure that out right now.
The minor hall's great, right, but if you get, over 100 and whatever people
Yeah.
capacity is, that's why, one of the reasons why we pushed to keep RSS, right, the auditorium, to have some community events. I just thought that the numbers were...
Yeah, and they're looking to see if they can get these people some gigs in surrounding towns as well. So anyway, I'll keep you posted on that. I will send a letter of thank you to Ryan McGill.
Mhm.
He did a great
Thank you.
job on that project, and you all got your
Thank
tags
you.
there. I think that's quite interesting. And I do have a couple of pictures. He wouldn't let us go through the whole thing, but you open the lid and we could take some pictures and I'll send those around, as well as a picture of what they look like. Make sure we do that, and make sure we send a letter to, as Joe said, to Terry Brinson, and, right? We'll just make sure we do that. The natural playground that we were discussing for RS, and due to, the amount of time the staff up there is taking with getting the whole thing, the school itself up and running, and our staff running around trying to make the traffic work, there's just no time right now to do anything with that natural playground, so we're gonna have to put that on hold until things are up and running up there. So just so you know.
So it won't be this year?
Well, I don't know, but it's not gonna be, well, probably not, because winter's coming, right? So, there's just too many questions up there about what's going on. Did you remember?
Yeah, I did. It was on Golden City Days, so, I had to be out of town for the past 5 days, so I missed a lot of fun things, it sounds like. But even so, in the lead up to Golden City Days, and even via text while I was in Calgary during Golden City Days, I also received a few complaints with regards to all the action being up by the arena and the parade being on the new route, and basically just being away from the downtown merchants. So anyway, that was, I think, 4 other people to add to the list, and I don't think they would be people who would have also talked to you guys. So that is quite a bit of feedback, and I guess we need to follow it up somehow, and, ultimately, you're right, it's another board, but...
Well, not really,
We'll
but
communicate it,
if
right?
there's people in the community that wish to see other things happen with Golden City Days, they should get involved in the committee. The committee would love to get them there. And that's where the decisions are made, yes.
Yeah, Lisa Henderson, actually, I chatted with her after the parade, and she said that the committee did send out an email a while back to all the merchants, or to all the merchants, and her words to me were they didn't get one comment back, which kind of was odd, I thought, because I know we took the old fire truck and came downtown and had a nice tour, the 3 of us, Councillor Wilson, the mayor, and myself, and I think that route could easily encompass downtown and go back up and still end up at the arena, right? It could be twice as long, might be twice as much fun.
And the first comment I received was actually from a group of people who aren't merchants, but just, people who live in Roslyn and kind of...
We're waiting downtown.
This was before the event, so this was just saying it was unfortunate that it wasn't bringing more attraction downtown.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun up there.
I forgot to mention about the Gateway Committee meeting with Donald Luxton, if you want to.
No, go ahead if you want. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it was August 16th, the Gateway Committee met with Donald Luxton and Associates there, the successful bidder on the RFP for the museum. They seem to be, seem to be an excellent company. They're going to be coming back in mid-October.
September 17th they're here, I think.
September 17th?
Because I'm away.
Oh, it's back, yeah. There's going to be some more public consultation. It's going to be, and they're only going to be finished by the end of November. And they'll be making proposals by, in January, isn't it? January?
Something, I can't remember
I
exactly,
can't
but they
remember
want the
exactly,
report by the end of November. And
Yeah,
that-
they're, seem to be exceptional.
Very professional.
Yeah.
And they like the contents, they understand the need to be sustainable, and they think there's a lot that can be done there for very little money, so it's all good.
So the timeline as far as council goes, like, we'll just wait until they come up with a proposal, obviously, and then it'll be a presentation to us or whatever.
Yeah.
And is there, like, who, is it your committee, the museum committee, who meets with them when they come? Who meets with them when they come here?
The Gateway Committee.
The Gateway Committee, sorry, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're going to want more public input too, so we'll get to that when they're here.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's enough for now, so we will adjourn the regular meeting. We're adjourned, and we will move to in-camera very, very shortly.
Motion to in-camera, please.
Motion, sorry, is there a motion to recess the in-camera, move subject to 91 CKG, labor relations, negotiations, and litigation? Moved by Councillor Fisher, seconded by Councillor Spear. Okay, 2 minutes.
And please remember to come to the town hall tomorrow.